I'm very naked, but what else is new?
He was like, you're quite short, so no pants for you.
You don't have to be half naked in order to be considered a baddie.
I've seen a lot of cheeks on my timeline, and I'm really concerned.
Stop neglecting the fact that style and appearance matter, because they do matter.
Okay, be honest. When was the last time you saw a celebrity dressed in a red carpet outfit and wondered where their clothes were? There was a time where being revealing, even on a red carpet, made headlines. It was definitely unusual to see celebrities in the nude, but times have definitely changed. From see-through everything to skirts the size of belts, we've officially entered the era where less is not just more, it's becoming the norm. What used to be shocking is now just another Tuesday on Instagram. But is this a bold form of self-expression, or are we normalizing something way deeper and maybe more dangerous than we realize? Hi babes, my name's Taja, mother of twins, lover of luxe things, and your guides for showing up with style and intention. There are currently quite a few revealing trends that are all over social media. Think the bubble skirt.
I need to show you guys this abomination, which is this skirt. I don't think I would ever wear this out because I'm walking, it looks like a diaper, and literally you can see up the skirt without even freaking trying.
And the office siren.
Why, if we want to be respected in the workplace as women, why are we creating office siren outfits?
And it seems that in 2025, we are in a space where everybody seems to be leaning into showing lots of skin. We have seen in the West a rise of conservatism, and that has been very much translated in fashion. Fashion does tend to be quite political after all.
Every time I walk into the store, everything is just brown, just very like dull, like boring. Like I'm not seeing anything with a pop. And it's just a reflection of the ideology that our country is descending in. We obviously have a conservative president. A lot of people want more American traditionalist values, and the clothes are looking like that.
And so I think we have seen quite a few women lean into dressing more modestly, dressing more conservatively, even leaning more into quiet luxury. However, I do think that this has peaked. A couple of years ago, the quiet luxury trend was super popular, and I think we have passed that stage now, and we are seeing more and more people leaning into being more expressive with their fashion, showing off colours, styles. There is a conversation around loud luxury and maximalism being back. And so I thought it would be interesting for us to discuss why women, in particular quite young women, are deciding to lean into showing more and more skin. As with most things, I think that influencer and celebrity culture has really had an effect on how we are dressing and how we choose to dress, which in some ways I think is harmless, but in other ways I think can be quite detrimental.
If I have a 12-year-old daughter who happens to love Sabrina Carpenter, and she looks at this cover and she associates it with cool because she's a little girl, she doesn't know. I think that there's a lot of ways to get people talking, and I just don't think that this should have been part of the brand guidelines.
There is a difference in context between how a celebrity chooses to dress and how your everyday person chooses to dress. Celebrities and influencers are brands, and so when they choose to dress, whether that's choosing to dress quite revealing or not wearing much, they can and do that with a different backdrop to somebody who lives down the road and is choosing not to wear much. And I think this is where lines get blurred, and it doesn't particularly work in our favour. Fashion has evolved through the decades, from mini skirts in the 1960s to low-rise jeans in the 2000s and share everything in the 2020s. Skin has always been a thing. In Western fashion, we have continuously seen glimpses of different areas of the female form being shown. So for example, in the 2000s, the midriff was very, very popular, probably coming back a bit now as well. And in the 1960s, it was all about the legs. And so I don't think the idea of showing skin is a new thing at all. Female celebrity fashion culture has always leaned quite provocative. And I do think part of this pattern does have to do with attention. As a celebrity, as an influencer, one of your main goals is to get attention. You know, to keep people's attention, get people to know who you are, get people talking. And so I think a lot of the times fashion is used to do just that. So whether that's J-Lo wearing her very low-cut Versace dress at the award show, or whether it's Rihanna with her bedazzled, beautiful, beautiful sheer dress that she wore with the headscarf. There are quite notable moments in time where particular celebrities have used their sex appeal to get attention. And as society has moved along, this technique has definitely been adopted by social media, Instagram and TikTok culture. All social media apps work based on an algorithm, and most content creators understand that if something gets you attention, what you're going to try to do next is something similar or something that has a similar vibe to it. So for example, if you post yourself in a bikini and that gets lots of attention, lots of clicks, lots of engagement, then chances are you're going to be wanting to post something similar to get more attention. And so I think we are in a culture where everything is quite attention led, and as a consequence we have found ourselves in a position where people are online all over the internet without much on.
The saddest thing to me is when I see influencers online showing their bodies because they think that's going to get them more followers, because they think that's going to get them more views, and it might and it will, because we live in a secular world, but baby, you don't need to do that.
And I'm not even going to just blame the celebrities and the influencers. Brands do it too. You know, brands use sex appeal, use skin to get attention and subsequently make lots of money. It seems to be a human trait to seek out attention. However, I think the pickle that we've got ourselves in is that many social media users, especially younger, more easily influenced social media users, are not able to understand the distinction between the internet and real life. And so it can be really easy to see somebody post about an outfit that they're wearing and it's getting loads of attention, loads of comments, and you might feel as though you could recreate that outfit. Yes, it's a bit revealing, but it's cute, and so you're going to wear it outside. And then we end up in a scenario where we have people outside dressed inappropriately because they're not understanding the difference between context. Now, I'm saying this as somebody who is not a prude. I'm not a prude. I'm not even particularly modest. However, I think that there is definitely a time and a place for everything, and there is a time to show cheeks and there's a time not to.
We live in a world where someone makes up their mind within the 5 seconds of meeting you and seeing you. That is just the truth. This doesn't necessarily have to just be with romantic relationships. This is anywhere. If you're trying to find work, if you're trying to connect with important people, the way you present yourself is the way you're gonna get treated. So dress accordingly.
I made a video recently about the death of the dress code, and I definitely think we are in an era where we're not really being honest with each other about the fact that there is a difference between what is acceptable when. And a lot of the conversation that is born out of that statement usually tends to be around, well, we should all be able to wear what we want. What does it matter what we wear? Who cares what we wear? Why is it important what we wear? We should all just wear what we like, what we love, what we feel comfortable in. And I agree. In a world where nothing really matters, I agree. But in real life, it is really important to be considerate about how you dress. You want to move through life intentionally. And this is not just an opinion. There have been studies that have been conducted around how dressing provocatively affects how people treat you. In a study published by Frontiers in Sociology in 2018, titled "The Female Graduate: Choice and Consequences of Women's Clothing," researchers found that women in sensual or revealing attire are often judged as less competent, intelligent, or moral, especially in professional contexts. In high status roles like management, wearing sexy outfits such as low cut blouses or short skirts can significantly lower perceived competence. I am not saying that this is a correct view that people should have of women. Of course, I think that women should be, in the ideal world, allowed to wear what they want, and that shouldn't have an effect on the way that they are perceived or treated. But over here on my channel, I like to encourage you guys to really move through life intentionally. If there is something that you want to get to, it's really important to think about how you are showing up, even if it's just about demanding respect from others when you're moving through your everyday life. How you dress can and does have an effect on how people treat you based on how they perceive you.
How you present shapes how people perceive you, which also shapes how people treat you. You are addressed by how you dress. Fortunately or not, that is the reality of the society that we live in currently. I'm not saying this is the way society should be ideally, but is the way society is now.
The story that they tell to themselves about you when they see you affects how they treat you. And so for the ladies who are doing office siren looks or showing up to Disneyland with a bit of bum cleavage.
So we showing our booty cheeks off at Disney too? Like, no. let's be women. Let's be feminine women at that. Because I am tired of the foolery that they are putting out there, especially to these young girls. Like, let's stop that.
All of these things affect how people conduct themselves around your access to opportunity, how well you're respected, who's willing to talk to you. A 2015 study also found that women in senior management were judged more harshly when their attire was deemed slightly sexier. Even minor changes like skirt length or unfastened buttons mattered. And these studies do have a lot to do with the workplace, but I think that environment and context matters. It's really important to give consideration to where you are going in what you're wearing. It's definitely not important to me to be modest 24 hours a day all year round. That is not important to me, and it's not something that I do. I actually like having the freedom to dress how I want and wear what I want in the right setting. If I was alone and with friends, I'm going to wear something that I can be relaxed in, something I can have a good time in, but also something that isn't particularly distracting because there's kids around and there's families around. I think we've definitely moved into an era where society always seems to work in extremes. So it's either, we shouldn't listen to what anybody has to say. We should wear what we want. Who cares where we're going? We should just wear what we like. And then on the other hand, it's like, if you value yourself, you're going to cover yourself up and you're going to be more modest and you're only going to let certain people have access to you in certain conditions. And I think there's parts of both that are right, in that if you feel more comfortable dressed more modestly, then that is within your right, of course. And I don't particularly think that that has to do with the male gaze. And just as if you choose to wear something more revealing, I don't necessarily think that that always has to do with the male gaze. But I think both of these arguments focus on the wrong thing. It should be less about men per se, in my opinion, and more about what you want from the environment. How do you want people to treat you? And fashion can be empowering, whether you choose to use it modestly or not. And you are able to direct the way that people perceive you based on the way that you dress, which I think is a power that is often overlooked. The focus of the conversation is always around, we don't care what men think, or we should care what men think, or we're not going to dress for the male gaze, we're going to dress for the women's gaze. And I think instead of thinking about it in that way, I think it's more productive and helpful to think about how you dress in the context of where you are and what you want. And that is what you want from a man or a woman. If you are entering in a room full of men or into a room full of women or a room full of men, women and children, what impression do you want to give those people with how you dress?
A woman who walks into a room looking like a boss is going to command complete different energy than the woman who walks in half naked.
I also think sometimes our thinking, especially in the West, can be very much about self and very much what we want, without giving consideration to whether what we are doing is actually getting us what we want. Because in the West, the idea of being able to wear what you want, how you want, be as revealing as you want, if you want, was really born out of feminism and the idea that women should be allowed to make their own decisions about what they wear, which I agree with. Of course, we should have our own autonomy. However, although we can control how we dress, we can't control the messaging that our outfit gives, right? So if I decide I want to use my autonomy to go outside in my pajamas, I can't control that me being outside in my pajamas might be perceived as me being lazy or me not caring about how I look or me being incompetent.
If you feel not cute and you feel underdressed and you feel like you're not representing yourself and who you are, it's a way to tell people right away, like, this is who I am.
Studies document that individuals in revealing clothing are often objectified and seen as having less agency, that is, less capacity for independent thought or moral decisions, and their bodies become the focus of attention. And so the idea of us having our own autonomy and wearing what we want because we don't want to be objectified, we want to be seen as more than our gender and as individuals, can sometimes, depending on what we choose to wear, have the knock-on effect of us being objectified. It all starts to feel a bit like swings and roundabouts. And sexualized portrayals of women in media through revealing clothing has been linked to increased self-objectification, body dissatisfaction, and performance anxiety. There's consistent evidence across decades and methodologies that revealing clothing significantly influences social treatment, perception, and behavior. It shapes how others see us, how we see ourselves, and even how we are judged in terms of morality, competence, and vulnerability. What do you think about ultra-revealing fashion? Do you think it's about self-expression or external validation? Let me know what you think down in the comments below.